Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Vertigo channel. Today we're going to do a video that I've actually been wanting to do for a while. For those of you who might be new to the channel, who might not be aware, I am a therapist. I don't know if maybe you've heard me say it before. I'm a therapist. I am a therapist. Okay, so maybe you have. And also, on the schedule I keep for myself, I also happen to write my own credentials on there. Which, according to my friends, makes me a bit of an egomaniac, but I digress. It's just kind of like one of those funny, simple, basic ideas that I thought about in terms of incorporating both my job as a therapist and also my passion as a gamer, particularly for the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. Today we're going to go over a few different characters, perhaps why they might be suitable for a therapist specifically. Of course, I don't necessarily choose my characters based off of like psychological factors or who's the character I most relate with or who's the most therapeutic. Obviously, it's just going to be kind of who I'm most comfortable with, who feels most natural, and also who just kind of fits, It's like a glove, right? So without further delay, let's get into candidate number one, who is Kirby. So I thought naturally this is kind of a good place to start. Not only because Kirby is one of the most popular mains among people who play Smash, but also because of Kirby's famous ability to inhale opponents and acquire some particular ability for them. So I think one thing that's pretty well understood in the world of therapy is that technically more than any particular tool or style or therapeutic method, the biggest evidence for long-term success in therapy is the therapeutic relationship itself. So, in terms of fighting in Smash, how exactly does this translate? Well, normally if you're going to build rapport with somebody, you usually want to bond with them about some commonality you have with them. Maybe it's some sort of a shared experience, maybe it's a similar sense of humor, similar outlook, religion, whatever that happens to be. And sometimes it just looks like, you mimic the words that your clients might use. If someone is inclined to curse, throw a few curse words at them. If they're more reserved or use maybe more intellectualized language, feel free to try to mimic some of that and throw it back at them, just so people are more inclined to feel like that they're understood. So with Kirby specifically, by him being able to ingest some part of his opponents and actually perhaps use it to his advantage and ultimately get to where his goal is, I feel like that there is something pretty big that this might say about the therapeutic method itself. Number two is Yoshi. Yoshi is, first and foremost, kind of a cute, gentle-looking character and is historically very important as much more of a supporting character. Now, Yoshi has kind of had his own spotlight in Yoshi's Story, Yoshi's Crafted World, Yoshi's Island, but even then, a lot of those games kind of still emphasize, in some ways, his role as an eventual or solidified side character. Yoshi is typically depicted as Mario's trusted steed, helping him go places that would otherwise be much more difficult to access. Very much a supportive role in what therapists tend to do for their clients. And Yoshi's famous ability to actually eat his opponents, turn them into eggs, turn those eggs into weapons, I believe does have some interesting therapeutic parallel. I mean, taking, stuff from your environment, stuff that you're dealing with, your enemies, and taking them up, ingesting them, and turning them into ammunition. Sort of reminds me of the basic idea of, being able to turn your fears into strengths, being able to empower yourself. What you think is a deficit can actually be the best thing for you in terms of how you learn, how you adapt to new situations, how you fight those situations next time you're in. I find there to be some very interesting parallel there. And it's ultimately one of the main reasons, aside from his external appearance, why I think Yoshi would be a very interesting main for a therapist. And on to the next one. Number three is Lucas, protagonist of Mother 3. But Lucas is actually a twin brother. He has a twin named Klaus. And fun fact, I'm also a twin. Novel, who I mentioned in my previous video, is actually my twin brother. Shout out to Novel. First thing I connect with him about. Second, he is very emotional and builds very deep connections. Emotional connections with people in the game. And typically for people who eventually go into helping professions, I mean, whether it's like counseling or counseling adjacent fields, you usually go into it because you have a pretty vivid emotional life probably quite empathetic. You're very in touch with this side. And through wanting to develop as a counselor or therapist, you really want to nourish that side of you and fine-tune it in a way that's going to be able to help other people. And also, Lucas is well known to be portrayed as a relatively coddled child. And so I think this journey is even more impactful when you realize that the emotional challenges that this kid has to face, really without his choice, are daunting and overwhelming. And for a kid who's kind of considered to be someone who's too soft, someone who's incapable to handle the crazy, cold, cruel world around him, being able to develop into something of that leader, somebody who is able to meet these challenges despite how kind of big and dramatic they are. I mean, spoiler alert, I mentioned the twin thing. He literally loses his twin brother and has quite a bit of survivor's guilt about it. So sorry for that spoiler for those of you who haven't played Mother 3. And on to the next one. So now we reach our penultimate character for the video. So Byleth, first and foremost, can be portrayed in a number of ways. So I'm just going to refer to them as they. Byleth, in Fire Emblem Three Houses, is pretty much portrayed as one of the most neutral characters you can possibly imagine. Pretty much neutral expressions throughout the game, surrounded by emotional characters, telling powerful stories, high stakes in their lives. And Byleth just kind of navigates everything from a very neutral, calm perspective. And in a lot of ways, I find that this can be remarkably therapeutic. It's kind of famously noted that Byleth neither laughed nor cried during their infancy. Through a lot of the gameplay, has manifested a pretty strong sense of neutrality. And usually when you really get into the nitty-gritty sometimes of what might be the best therapeutic change going forward, if people are ready for it, neutrality can be incredibly therapeutic. If you are anxiously attached and are inclined to go to your therapist looking for approval or unconditional support, it's probably going to be better for you in the long run to be able to tolerate neutrality. It's not necessarily knowing the attitudes, perspectives of the person that you're talking to, not knowing, hey, what is this person thinking of me? And actually being okay with it. Sometimes there is this part of us, maybe people who are more inclined to be people pleasers, who specifically want to know they're doing a good job, who really want to know that like they're doing this whole crazy therapy thing okay. And finally, my real name. So, I love playing as Mega Man, and I think especially in the context of this video, I do think Mega Man embodies both some of the most positive characteristics of Byleth and the positive characteristics of Kirby. So in Mega Man 11, the robot masters get kidnapped by Dr. Wily, and Mega Man, or Rockman in Japanese, is tasked with the ability of basically liberating them and saving them from his evil clutches. And as he does so, as he liberates them, he's able to also learn something new from each robot master. He takes on some new ability that is able to help him going forward, and using some sense of versatility and creativity, he's able to choose among all those different abilities and really accomplish his goal whenever fit. Same thing for therapy, right? As I was saying, you don't necessarily know what people are going to come to you. Sometimes you think you've seen it all, and some tools that you acquire just by talking to more people, engaging with more people, it can really get you more competent and skilled in talking about a variety of different things. Now, with the neutrality thing, Mega Man in Mega Man 11 is portrayed as a pretty neutral character. He doesn't protest very much, he understands his role very well. He's able to accept that he's assigned a certain task, and is able to do it with a certain amount of grace. Now, this is also a joke that I see with my friends sometimes, but when, characters star KO in Smash, they normally protest very loudly. You often hear a in the context of Ganondorf or something, right? But Mega Man is one of the few characters that actually kind of makes no sounds. No protests, no verbal expressions of pain or anything. He's incredibly quiet, and when he star KOs, he's also very quiet. So in a sense, thinking about stoicism, thinking about acceptance, I mean, as you're flailing around into the background and you're not screaming, wow, that's neutral, that's stoic. And in this context, I mean, who embodies that better than Mega Man himself? Thank you guys very much for watching. I know I just kind of picked 5 characters out of, well, a lot. But maybe I'll make this a recurring theme. Maybe I'll kind of, bring some psychological factors, some facts about the games, the characters' own psyches and their own histories, maybe talk about it a little bit more. There's a lot of games represented on Smash that I'm actually not super familiar with, so it'll also be an exercise for me to just like get in the heads of some of these characters, what makes them who they are, and ultimately we'll make some good fighters. So we'll see. Stick around for that. Thank you again for being here. I've been Vertigo. This has been the Vertigo channel, and I will see you at the next one.